Good evening YouTube, it's John, the old geek, and I'm reviewing an old school AD&D adventure module once again. Having recently covered I3 Pharaoh and I4 Oasis of the White Palm, I'm going to be utterly predictable and finish the trilogy with I5 The Lost Tomb of Martek. If you've not seen my earlier two reviews of I3 and I4, then please check them out, as I will be referring to points I made in those videos. The Lost Tomb of Martek was written by Tracy Hickman, because of course it was, and published in 1983 by TSR. It is the final adventure in the Desert of Desolation series, and while the previous two episodes were far from perfect, they both had a lot of strong aspects to them. Entertaining and imaginative dungeon crawls, especially in I3. A smattering of intrigue with potential for a good amount of roleplay in I4. They were both slightly underpolished gems. With the experience of writing two modules behind him now, could the author get everything right now? Could he develop what was great about both I3 and I4 while managing to iron out their flaws? Well, before I answer that, I'll look at presentation, both of which were relatively weak points of the previous two adventures. The cover of this module is magnificent. I've often criticised Jim Holloway's internal artwork, but his bright, colourful style lends itself well to cover art, and this image of a purple worm breaking through the surface of the Sky Sea is an absolute beauty. Internal art is by Harry Quinn, and is a major improvement on the previous two modules in the series. There's more of it too, but in the case of this adventure that's a negative. Again, I'll come to that later. The maps are also much better, clear and colourful. Yes, there's still a pitiful diagram of the entire desert, vast and foreboding and measuring a massive 100 miles long by 60 miles wide. Sorry to sound like a stuck record, but clearly nobody thought logically about scale, did they? I5 uses the same style of encounter description as both I3 and I4, and it probably works best in this module. It's cleaner than in I3 and without the awkward oddities created in I4, so presentation on the whole is significantly better. We're off to a good start. Now, so far in the series we've been introduced to ghostly pharaohs, trap-filled tombs aplenty, a plethora of well-themed encounters, devious trickery, so surely the finale will be memorably climactic. At the end of I4, the party released a genie to battle the Ifriti they accidentally unleashed on the land in I3. But the battle is proving to be a bit of a stalemate, and the two warring foes are causing havoc for those unfortunate to live in the desert below. Armed with the star gems, the party need to locate Martek's sphere of power and finally put an end to all of this nonsense. With one exception, the desert is the same as in the previous modules, made out to be a vast, dangerous, burning wasteland by the text, but actually covering a pitifully small area. Encounters are largely random and fit the desert theme well. The exception I mentioned is an area known as the Sky Sea. This shimmering sea of burning hot glass is a wonderful idea, but painfully underdeveloped in the module. This sets a trend. Having crossed the Sky Sea, the party will find some pillars which transport them to a garden, effectively trapping them. But they have their means of escape in their possession, those being the star gems. The garden is inhabited by two groups of people, also stuck in the garden, except they were not lucky enough to arrive carrying the star gems. So they want them. It all gets a bit silly now. Some of them will try to steal the gems, the intention being that the PCs should chase the thief or thieves through the subsequent chapters. The following sections are 3 short chapters in which the party must locate and return some crystals, which will open up Martek's tomb and allow the party to bring him back to help the genie see off the Ifriti. Does all this sound linear to you? Yep. That's because it is. Fear not, brave adventurers, this is a Hickman module, and you shall not need to think about where to go. The writer will ensure that you do not stray. In addition to being linear, The module also feels uneven. 2 of the 3 crystal quests are fantastic. The great ideas, the Mobius Tower, where time has stopped and party must find a way of escaping the moment. This is a beautiful idea and could and should have been the basis for much more of the adventure. Then there's the Black Abyss, where time and distance contract and expand. It's also incredibly creative, but sadly underdeveloped. It's just incorporated as 4 pages of a chase, possibly interrupted by some wandering monsters. A real wasted opportunity. In fact, that's what this entire module feels like. A series of wasted opportunities. There are so many great ideas in there that it should have been expanded to 48 pages. Something that had already been done with other modules from TSR. S3, A2 and U3 all had expanded page counts. This is why I'm critical of the amount of art. The Lost Tomb of Martek is 32 pages long. Roughly 6 pages of art in total, a cover page, a few pages of background, and over 3 pages of new monsters and a near full page of ending spiel, leaving about 20 pages of actual adventure, spread over 7 chapters. 7 different chapters, all doing something different. That's why the whole feeling is one of everything being unfinished, underdeveloped. Nice as the art is, I would much rather have seen half the amount and those extra 3 or 4 pages spent on the Black Abyss or the Mobius Tower. The Sky Sea as well should have been much bigger and have a much greater impact. In fact, those 3 areas, the Sky Sea, the Black Abyss, the Mobius Tower, all fantastic, could easily have been the main basis of some great adventures, but here in this adventure they are just not enough. The rest of the material here feels like mere padding, poorly thought out filler. So no, Hickman had not realised which bits of I3 and I4 worked and which didn't, far from it. He ignored the reasons why I3 and I4 were good and instead constructed us a poorly finished railroad. The biggest crime this module commits, to me, is the ending. At no point in the series are the PCs ever meant to defeat the evil Ifriti themselves. And once again the aim of this adventure is to release Martek so that he can finish the job. A key part of a good adventure module is that it should allow the players the chance to play out their heroics in a variety of ways. And the Desert of Desolation series certainly allows them to be heroes, but not completely, as the ending is pre-written. The PCs are pawns in Hickman's story throughout. He would go on to write the excellent I6 Ravenloft, and this style doesn't matter there. In fact, it fits the narrative of Strahd being in control. The hopeless inevitability of horror. It works in I6. But in a traditional fantasy series, it is clumsy. And it would only get worse a few years later with the Dragonlance series. It is a pathetic ending. So to summarise, I5, The Lost Tomb of Martek, is a wasted opportunity. It is packed with great ideas, but at the same time feels somewhat thin and hollow as nothing is properly fleshed out. There are plenty of wow moments, but sadly they are overshadowed by an overall impression of WTF. I give this module a below par 4 out of 10. Not the memorable and satisfying ending the trilogy deserved. More akin to a drunken teenager losing their virginity.